Joins me. Marcus, let's take a look, shall we, at the economic angle of this crisis in Ukraine.
Yes, indeed. Let's do just that, Tom, because it is important as well to keep in mind what the economic fallout of the unrest could be. Both ordinary Ukrainians and the financial community worry about the fallout. In some parts of Ukraine, there have been long queues of people rushing to withdraw cash from cash points. They want to protect their savings. Investors, they're also seen to be growing increasingly nervous. Standard & Poor's has cut its credit rating of Ukraine by a notch to CCC. It also says that further downgrades could be on the cards. The credit rater warns that the unrest could make it more difficult for Ukraine to service its debts, for instance. Ukraine is in dire need of money to stave off a default, and Russia has pledged to send a multi-billion-dollar lifeline. But the Russian government says this Friday that it's undecided on its next $2 billion installment. It says it wants further clarity from Kiev. Now, there has been a deal this Friday between the president and the opposition, and the Ukrainian currency has stabilized against the dollar on the back of that agreement. Earlier, I spoke to Lilith Gevorgian at IHS Global Insight in London. She says Ukraine must project credibility in the longer term to get financial help.
Ukraine needs a functioning government, a government that any lender, including Russia, has to be confident about, to know who they're actually giving the money to. If they cannot come up with a lasting agreement, the agreement that lasts at least for a couple of months between the opposition and the government, and if the political chaos continues, this effectively means that Russia will probably not continue with its bond buying scheme, and IMF and EU would also be reluctant to throw out money without knowing who is in charge, and that will significantly increase the risk of default.
That was Lilith Gevorgian once again there speaking to me from London. Next, we're going to move on to another standoff, this one in Nigeria. The governor of Nigeria's central bank says he's taking President Goodluck Jonathan to court. It comes after the president suspended Lamido Sanusi on Thursday, accusing him of financial recklessness. Sanusi denies that claim while also saying that he has no intention to actually go back to work before his term actually runs out officially in June. He says he wants to show, though, that the president's move was illegal to protect future central bank governors. Let's listen in to Lamido Sanusi.
Central bank is an independent institution. There is a section of the act that says the president cannot remove the governor without two-thirds of the Senate. There was a reason for that section. You cannot go around that section by saying, I'm not removing you, I'm suspending you.
Okay, let's take a look at the stock markets next. There's less than an hour to go of this week's trading over in the United States, and the indices, they've been turning negative in the past hour, at least the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Better than expected results from Hewlett-Packard are seen to be boosting the Nasdaq, and that is why that index is outperforming the two others. In Europe earlier, the indices ended this week with gains. As you can see here, the Paris CAC 40 was up 0.6%, whereas the Frankfurt DAX up 0.4%. And if we take a look at some individual company news here in Europe, shares in RBS ended Friday's session up, boosting the FTSE in London. It came as there are reports that a restructuring could be on the cards for the British bank. It would shrink the lender's investment banking unit and also international operations. The Financial Times and the Daily Telegraph report up to a quarter of the bank's workforce could be cut. That corresponds to around 30,000 jobs. A strike among security personnel has caused chaos at Frankfurt Airport, one of Europe's largest hubs. Security workers walked off the job demanding higher wages. Only 74 out of 1,300 flights were cancelled on Friday, though, but many planes left only partially filled. There simply wasn't enough staff to screen passengers. And the Japanese carmaker Nissan is hoping that the Kingdom of Bhutan will help it sell more electric cars. Bhutan has signed a deal to acquire a fleet of electric vehicles from Nissan for an undisclosed figure. The carmaker will also set up a network of charging stations to encourage regular consumers to buy zero-emission vehicles. The chief executive of the carmaker, Carlos Ghosn, he says that he's hoping the Himalayan kingdom will become a showcase for green vehicles. Now, there's a thought. And with that, I'm going to throw it back to you, Tom, for the rest of the news.
Sounds very sensible indeed. Well, there is more news to come at the bottom of the hour, but before that, web news.